Hi everyone, today I thought we'd do something a bit different. All the time I get asked about what kind of machine should I buy, what kind of machine do you use, and just people not knowing where to start, should they stick with one brand, all the kind of things that you don't really think about if you've been sewing for a long time because you've already got your machine, but maybe as a beginner you're not quite sure where to start. So I'm going to show you through my machines. They're not super fancy, they're not super basic, but they're all here for a purpose. So I'm going to talk you through and hopefully you'll learn a little bit about what might suit you best for a machine. So I'm going to talk about my main machine first. My main machine is only quite new. I only upgraded in 2020. Previous to that, I'd had the same machine for over 20 years. My old machine, which was a Janome, was fantastic, but I use it a lot, and it had got to the point where I was having to service it more and more often, and it was not holding its stitch quality the way I wanted it to. And it was through no other fault than like sheer amount of use. So I upgraded to the Brother. This is the NV180D, the D being the Disney model, because I couldn't get the Hello Kitty version here in Australia. So as you can hear there, it's a digital model, touch screen to actually choose all of your regular stitches, and it has a really lovely amount of stitches, some of which I'm still exploring because, as I said, it is a new machine to me. Little things that I already love about it. It's a lot quieter than my old machine, which has been super fantastic because with everyone working from home, my boyfriend is often working from home, and my old machine was quite noisy and we don't have much space. We only have a studio apartment. So if he was on conference calls for work, I couldn't really sew that much. Which wasn't bad, we just worked around it. But now this thing is so quiet, I can sew all the time and it doesn't matter, and you can't hear it. So if noise is a factor, that was something that was really great for me, that it was so much quieter. Comes with a speed dial. Mine's always set to the speediest one. I am quite the lead foot when it comes to sewing, which is more due to experience and training on industrial machines than anything else. It also has the automatic cut, which you've seen me use in demonstrations where we've been working on things. I really like it. My only downside on the auto cut is that it doesn't always work as well when I'm working with elastic. That's probably my only downside on it so far on the automatic cut. Other than that, super easy to thread, easy drop-in bobbin. One really great thing that I did check before I upgraded my machine from one machine to the next, my Janome bobbins also fit my Brother, which was a really good thing because I had a heap of bobbins. So if you are looking to upgrade, do look and see if your bobbins are transferable, because not all of machines hold the same bobbins. The other reason I went with this machine is I can actually convert it to an embroidery function. It's got a bunch of preset things in there. It's also got a little USB port here on the side where I can digitize either myself or buy digitized pieces off the internet, slot it on and do it. The frame is only quite small, it's 10 by 10, so that's 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, but it's more than enough for what I need it to do. So to make it into an embroidery machine, this section slides off just like you would as if you're sewing for a sleeve. A new section slides on, and I change kind of the foot section, I guess. The foot section comes off and another one slides on, and it becomes an embroidery machine. So that makes it really handy for me because I wanted to stretch my skills in a different way. And if you're looking to incorporate embroidery into your designs, something like this might really work for you. But other than that, I think it retails in Australia for about $1,400. I know it's on sale at the moment for Mother's Day as well. It is more than I would normally spend on a machine, but it was a huge upgrade. I got the embroidery function sort of built into it, and as I said, it was my first new machine in 20 years, more than 20 years. So combine that with a significant birthday a few years back, and I was like, yeah, it's time to treat myself to a new machine. In saying that, you certainly don't need a super fancy machine, but it has been very fun playing with one. Okay, I'm going to show you one of my other machines now. So on to my next machine. This is my overlocker. It's a Bernina L450. It's my second most used machine, I guess, after my main machine. And as you can tell, zero brand loyalty because I've got a Brother regular machine, and here I've got a Bernina. And I literally just go with the machine that does the job. So when I was looking for this machine, there was a couple of functions that I was looking for. One, it had to handle really super stretchy swimwear fabric really easily and handle elastics. And the other one was I wanted something that could really quickly and easily convert to a roll hem function. So to convert the roll hem function on this one, I take out the needle, I flip a switch, and I change these two dials, and I'm done. It's really fast. I can probably do it in under a minute. We're going to have a video coming up soon where I'll be using that function on some knickers in a sew along, so you'll actually see how to do that. I might even film just how I do the changeover, just so you can see how it all works. But that was one of the things that I was like, okay, that's top of my list of what I want for when I'm shopping for an overlocker. The other thing I wanted was one where the tension remained fairly true most of the time. This one is fantastic, and I almost never have to change any of these dials. To change my thread colors, I'll snip along the top here, I'll tie a thread, and I will hand pull them through. I don't use the motor of the machine to pull them through. I don't set these to 0. I then rethread the needles, test it out on a piece of test fabric. Rarely, if ever, do I need to change these. They just work, and it just holds its tension, which I just find is a huge game saver. Previously, I've owned another Janome overlocker. It was a more basic model. It was fantastic. It was really good. It wasn't quite as easy to change to the roll hem function. And I also owned another Bernina, which was I think like the 790 or something like that. I can't quite remember. I really liked it, possibly even more than I like this one, but that model has now been discontinued, and actually lost that model when we had a house fire. So this was my replacement one to the one from the house fire. And so far I've just been so happy with it. It just works. When I went shopping for this, one of the things that I was very determined to try out was all of my very stretchy swimwear fabrics and slinky lingerie fabrics. So I took samples with me. Any machine shop which wouldn't let me use my own fabrics to test out the machines, I just wouldn't buy from them, because I wanted to make sure that the machine met my needs. It's really easy to make an overlocker look really pretty on nothing but calico and quilting cotton. It's much harder for one to look like that all the time if they don't always test it out. So I was really happy to be able to test this one and check it out, and even I haven't cleaned out my scrap bin for a couple of days. So in my scrap bin there is currently cotton jersey, cotton spandex jersey, silk, silk cotton, and some cotton lawn, and I'm not entirely sure what that one is. Oh, some other kind, a different kind of silk. So they're all been sewn with white overlocking thread because that's what colour I had and was using. And I haven't had to change anything to be able to sew all of those different kinds of fabrics. So for me, this is a real workhorse. It's also quiet-ish. All overlockers tend to be slightly noisier, and this one is slightly noisier, but it's certainly not the noisiest one I've ever come across, that's for sure. Anyway, that's my overlocker. Third machine is a Janome. It's the Cover Pro 2000 CPX, and it is a cover stitch machine. So for those of you who don't know or haven't come across cover stitch machines before, essentially they're hemming machines. So they do either twin or triple needle stitches, great for hemming t-shirts, dresses, anything basically where you want a twin needle hem finish to them. They have a little bit of a reputation, I should say, for being a little bit finicky, but for the most part, I find mine not too bad. One thing I have discovered, it's a complete thread snob. It really doesn't like it when I use anything smaller than these small cones. If I try and thread up with Result or something else like that, it just doesn't like it. So I tend to only use it with the big cones, and I want to do a little bit more experimentation to see if it's all things or whether I hadn't secured the cones or the smaller spools down, because for me that was a little frustrating. I'd been trying over and over and over to hem a quite slippery piece of lycra, which normally I don't have any problems with, but then just it would not do it. Swapped it to a different thread, perfect, no problems at all. The only difference, big thread cones, small spools. So I want to experiment with that, but that is one thing that I have come across that has been a little frustrating. As you can see, I have some washi tape down to mark out different hem areas. It doesn't have any hem guides on this side, and that is something that, for something that is essentially a hemming machine, I find very frustrating that there are no guides here. So this one is a 2 centimeter guide. I think this one was a 5 centimeter one, and I was using it when I was doing some very specific top stitching on a project. So I use washi tape because it's very easy to peel off and it leaves no sticky residue underneath. So if you haven't come across washi tape, it is a low tack sticky tape, primarily patterned, often comes out of Japan, but also you can just use any low tack sticky tape. Try and avoid using any regular sticky tape or masking tape or gaff tape or anything like that, because it just gunks up this part of your machine and is terrible. Apart from the gripe about this and the not thread and the not liking different kinds of threads, my cover stitch machine is quite good. It does what it says it does. It hems really well. I have pushed the experimentation of it a bit and tried to use it to do twin needling on denim things, which does work, but does take quite a lot of experimentation to actually get there. So maybe I'll show that one day. The other thing I quite like, so I've got it in the wide needle position at the moment. I can swap these needles so I have 2 narrow ones, or I can put in a third one and have a triple stitch. I can also take it out so I only have one and do a single needle chain stitch. Now the single needle chain stitch I use to pretty good effect when I'm sewing lingerie. I will use it to apply fold over elastic, and I do have a project coming up soon to show you where I'm actually going to use that technique to show you. The great thing about the chain stitch is it looks like a regular straight stitch on the top, but on the underneath it's got a chain which is stretchy. So I found it really useful when you want a nice clean finish, maybe when you don't want to use a zigzag. It looks much more like a ready to wear garment when you do it that way. So yeah, I feel like of all of my machines, it is my least used machine, but it is kind of like a single project. It just does one thing and it does it really well. So that's my cover stitch machine. As you might have noticed, I've had to move my cover stitch machine to the center. What you can't see is my desk is obviously up against the window. Now directly in front of where my regular machine is actually the edge of our bed. We have a very small apartment, so I can't actually stand in front of that machine. So what I do is whenever I need to bring that machine to the center, I just swap them around. The desk which my filming and lights is currently on, occasionally I will use one of my machines over in this position, but mostly I use them here against the bench, which is much more solid and absorbs a lot more of their movement and noise better than my desk does. But one day I'll do a video and I'll show you my whole setup and you can see how it works in a tiny space. Anyway, I hope that has given you some ideas about what to look for on different kinds of machines. You by no means need 3 machines. It is definitely an indulgence for me to have 3. To do almost all sewing, you just need a regular machine that has a straight stitch and a zigzag. Gets you through everything.